It's time for another update of the game about breaking a cube. Previously, I have been building the environment and core mechanics of the game. It seems that a lot of you are now interested in the game, and I have read a lot of valuable feedback since then. So today, it's time I address some of the most common concerns, implement new ideas, and introduce much more story and intrigue to the world in the shackles of Null Corp Corporation. Let's get it out of the way and start with the hammer animations. You guys truthfully pointed out that a single animation I had in the game wasn't carrying enough impact. So I got to work. Previously I thought that to make the animation realistic I need to target the center of the cube. But since the movement was directed forward instead of sideways, very little impact was felt visually by the player. So I decided to dump this approach and create wider swings instead. The character doesn't target the middle of the cube now, and instead goes for a wider swing. I also added variation, so that not every swing looks the same. There are now multiple animations the player can make, grounding everything even more. The problem, however, was as usual with the longer hammers. It is just not realistic for a character to hold a big hammer like this, unless they are like Superman or some other mighty supernatural being. To make the animation grounded in reality, I needed to make the character hold it with two hands instead. Figuring this out took some time, but when I finally did that, this instantly gave me crispy looking results. I also followed your advice and made everything slower and more grounded. It is no longer about multiple fast swings, but instead a few precise ones. I can leave the speed increase for upgrades, unlocked later, and introduce a player to a slower, more serious game. But hammer animations aren't the only thing that required changing. The most polarizing part of the game was actually the announcer's voice.
Welcome. We congratulate you on passing the recruitation process and starting your work as an extraction.
Some of you loved it, but most of you hated it. And while I know I cannot please everyone, I knew something had to be done. Before I decided to throw everything to the trash can, I wanted to salvage what I could. So I created a system of speakers spread out through the facility.
Welcome. We congratulate you on your promotion.
Now, when a new voice line is about to be played, the game chooses the closest speaker and plays the sound from there.
We would like to remind you that Null Corp takes no responsibility for physical injury.
I also set up the most important thing of all, reverb. Now there are a few different reverb zones, which make sure sound spreads out more naturally.
Please gather your processing utensils and start disassembling the cube.
I think you can instantly tell you are in a big cavern. And it doesn't only work with voice lines, as other sounds, such as steps and hits, also have reverb applied in the same way. The best part is, I can make different zones of reverb, so that the sound is heard differently in small spaces versus the large ones. But it still wasn't perfect. The voice was too clean, not broken at all, like you may expect in an old facility like that. So, I broke it down a little, using tools like Equalizer and BitCrunch.
Welcome. We congratulate you on your promotion from unpaid intern to extraction and resource allocation specialist for environmental reclamation.
So what do you think about the voice now? Does setting it inside the world fix the issues you had with it? Or maybe you have a problem with the voice actress performance itself? I am not sure, to be honest. So, you guys let me know in the comments. Now that we've got those 2 points of critique out of the way, let's take a look at the bigger picture for a second. I told you in a previous video that I am going to test the game. And I did. I gathered around 30 people from my university who played and gave me interesting feedback. The game was still a technical demo and encompassed breaking 4 different cubes. Stone cube, dirt cube, contaminated cube, and meat cube. It had a small playing area and a few contaminated nodes to judge correctly. People were also able to upgrade their hammers to have a glimpse of the in-game progression. I think the tests went well. People enjoyed themselves quite a lot, however they were feeling a sense of emptiness in the game. asking questions like, who am I? Why am I working here? What's my purpose? At this point, I've noticed two kinds of people and approaches. Some wanted me to add depth in breaking the cube itself, mentioning a wider variety of tools, ideas such as scanning the cube for weak points, possibility to damage ores with reckless hits, and other convolutions for the breaking mechanics themselves. The other half of people were interested more in the corporation and its story, wanted me to lay out a bigger mystery and create more spooky, character-defining moments. I realized I had gathered two separate crowds of people, interested in different parts of the game I was making: the simulation and breaking crowd and the horror crowd. And while polishing both mechanics and story is a necessity, I knew I had to choose the main focus for the game to grow. Too many cooks spoil the broth, and I wanted to lay out a clear direction for the development ahead. Which part is more important to you? Depth of breaking mechanics or depth of the story? Let me know in the comments. I, however, chose the story as the main focus. I thought the game would be a better experience if I gave you a fulfilling journey, instead of focusing on scanners and weak points. With that new direction in mind, I continued development. First, I decided to tackle the question, who am I? And outline the protagonist a little bit more. So, I created the player's apartment. I wanted the day-by-day structure of the game and realized it's a nice opportunity to show the character coming back home and relaxing after a long day underground. Using this place, I could not only establish who the protagonist is and what their life conditions are, but also to show any changes that would happen day by day. Because let me tell you, I am planning big story changes and developments. Nullcorp is planning something big, and you are the main part of it. The outside world is buzzing with new events, and to show their progression, I created this TV set.
This is OMG News, the freshest news that will blow your socks off.
You thought I would spoil you part of the story? Haha, I won't. But this is the general sound and look of the news so far. I hope that its minimalistic visuals will be enough if the written text is really good. Anyway, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of the game about breaking a cube.
Sitting on the armchair and watching TV not only gives you word trivia, but also starts the next day, closing the loop. First you mine, then you relax at home and watch some TV, and then you come back to the mine once again. Now that I had this working, it was time to enlarge the play area, to allow some player exploration. But the game is not a sandbox. Opening a huge area to explore at the start isn't great for horror, especially since I have quite a lot of mechanics to explain on day one, and need the player to focus on the basics: how to break the cube, how to collect or incinerate the ores. It shouldn't be until later that the player actually has means to explore, not to get confused at the beginning. With that in mind, I needed to pace the player exploration in some way. To do that, I added this broken door system. You have to pay to repair the doors and be able to venture forth. So, you will have to choose between buying new tools and exploring, which I think is an interesting choice to make. I have also created this sealed entrance, which you can only break if you have a strong enough tool. With those two systems, I can lay out different parts of the complex in a way that stops the player from venturing there too early, and slowly revealing new areas to them instead. I hope this will give the player goals to set for themselves and look forward to more than just the next cube. After all, nothing makes you more curious than seeing a closed door. What's behind it, and how do I get it to open? A perfect example for creating a curiosity dynamic between the game and the player like that is the laser gun. there is a place where you can find broken, rusted laser gun. It is basically useless in this form, but finding it makes the player wonder what they can do with it. It also makes the repair station turn back online, which allows you to repair the gun. Of course, only after you find the right material to do so. This hopefully will make the player examine valuables from another angle, not only whether to incinerate them or not, but also if it is something that may power up their newfound gun. The laser itself, when repaired, is very powerful, heating up and growing in size and strength the longer you use it. It is also strong enough to break through the sealed door. Or maybe you didn't explore to find it, and instead saved enough for the strong enough hammer to break through it. I hope the decisions start to become interesting at this point. So I had all of those new systems, but I was missing content. Broken doors must lead somewhere, and for the secrets to be uncovered, there must be places to put them in. So I spent quite a lot of time building a few new areas, which, while empty of gameplay at this time, will be bustling with new events before you know it. I feel like the direction for the game is finally clear. I am now at a stage where I have a lot planned regarding new areas, cubes, events and story beats. I still need some more time to turn all of those thoughts into reality. In the meantime, I have a lot of fun reading your comments. There was a lot of them, and they contained a lot of good ideas, because of which I now have a long list of improvements I want to make. So keep on commenting, because your views really affect the final look of the game. And wishlist the game about breaking a cube on Steam. If you want to see how I built the previously introduced systems and areas, watch this video next.